Welcome to Realm Genesis, the womb of regeneration. My name is Gretchen Heilman Piper. This lecture is entitled The Golden Phallus and the Sixth Holy Day, and we will be discussing the architecture of the Living Torus. We are going to begin on the firm and beautiful foundation, the mechanics of the true nature of reality and the meaning and purpose to life, which is the awakening event that takes place inside of the dual hemisphere Taurus, which is the mind of God. This beautiful truth has been laid down by Lindsay Harris at the Tomb of Illumination. And I'm going to start by sharing with you the principles and laws of Hermetic philosophy that ground and describe the true nature of reality inside of our dual hemisphere Taurus. So here we are in the mind of God, and back at source inside the central vortex of creation, where the sun sits on the lip of the black hole and the 2D plane flexes like a jellyfish, breathing and giving life and becoming a self-sustaining system that we live in, just a beautiful creation. Back at source, all is one, singularity. Oneness. The sun and moon are one. Male and female are one. And it is a state of pure stillness and wholeness and everything and nothing. Mathematically, one is represented by 1 over 1. You can't say 1 over 0. You have to say 1 over 1 if you're expressing 1 mathematically. Inside of our dual hemisphere Taurus, the first Hermetic principle that we found all of this beautiful work that Lindsay Harris has laid down upon is the Law of Correspondence, or cause and effect, or as above, so below as above. And that is represented by mapping the pair inside of the dual hemisphere Taurus. So the law of correspondence and the law of polarity work together. Polarity is showing us pairs of opposites, and it's not only opposites because you can't have a perfect opposite of your hands. What it is it's a fold, and that fold is called a chiral mirror. So it's a principle of chirality. Here are some pairs of opposites that we know to be true. The void and the light, the sun and the moon, summer and winter, day and night. The two analemas are mirrored. The two Vesica Piscis. The Vesica Piscis itself is formed by an overlay of the two. And then there are two Vesica Piscis inside of the inhale and the exhale of the breath of God. The two overlapping fields, the northern central tighter field and the inverted and mirrored opposite, the southern field, which is more dispersed and encircles the north being tighter and stronger, the south being weaker and more dispersed. The two poles, the central vortex and what is known as the South Pole, but is actually the North, the two capacitor plates, the two central south poles at either side of the equator. The two Milky Ways aligned in the northern and southern hemisphere. The two witnesses that lie dead in the street. The red crown and the white crown of Egypt. Cain and Abel. Christ being born and Christ dying. The whale swallowing Jonah and the whale spitting up Jonah. The brown and the white bull in the story of Maeve of Connolly. The positive and the negative. Dielectricity and electromagnetism. Electricity and magnetism. So, as we can see, and as we know and physically experience in our bodies, we have 2 hands, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 hemispheres in our brain, which mirror the 2 hemispheres in the north and the south in our dual hemisphere toroidal field, the claustrum and the sacrum, the inhale and the exhale, the inward and the outward pumping of blood. All of these principles are seen inside of the true nature of reality and the system, that the beautiful breath of God that we live in. The next principle is the law of gender. Masculine, feminine, the masculine seed, the spark, the conception, the fire, the 40 days, the alpha, and the feminine, the structure being built and knit together in the womb, the gestation, the growing, the water of the womb, and the 1,335 days, the omega, the alpha and the omega, up and down, left and right, north and south, east and west, sky and ground. This is the beautiful expression of the as above, so below as above, and the law of polarity and the expression of opposite pairs. Inside of this expression, the seed doesn't always know the flower. It just knows the upward growth and the movement. The firstborn doesn't always see the lineage. The firstborn child doesn't grasp that there's a lineage coming beyond it. The knowing comes before the being. So, therefore, based on the laws of the torus, a logical and valid conclusion can be drawn that a top-down electric strike to the claustrum tear, in a weakened and dispersed southern hemisphere spring, inhalation, must be chirally mirrored by a bottom-up magnetic ground rising up sacrum resurrection in a stronger, tighter northern hemisphere spring exhalation. So, let's look at what we absolutely know. When we look in the sky, we absolutely know. When we see the analemma and we see the figure 8, we know that that is not symmetrical. It is asymmetrical. And that there's a 2-to-3 ratio of that analemma. That 2-to-3 ratio analemma with the short, smaller 2, tighter field, and the larger 3, bigger field, represent the 2 to 3 ratio. 2 plus 3 is 5. If we take the true breath of God, which is 365 days, 0.2422, and we divide 365.2422 divided by 5, so we're dividing all of that time of the year divided by the 5, we get 73.04. If we take 73.04 and we want to find out what is the 3, then we multiply 3 by 73.04 and we get 219. That 219 is the 219 days out of the 365.24, and that represents the inhale. We can also take the 73.04 and multiply that by 2, and that gives us 146, and that is the length of the exhale. So now we have our inhale and our exhale, and we have the correct number of days mathematically defined by the geometric principle of the analemma. It's another thing that we absolutely know. We absolutely know that September 6th is the alpha initiation, beginning and seed, the birth of the King of Kings, and the beginning of the great knowledge that we've been given. So we're going to take that September 6th date and we're going to simply add 219 days. Adding the 219 days brings us to April 13th. That is the Northern Hemisphere spring exhale and Vesica Piscis. If we then take those days marking the exhale, the 146, and we add 146 days to the April 13th Vesica Piscis, we land back on September 6th. And that is how we know the dates of September 6th and April 13th. Mathematically, structurally, geometrically, inside of the 2 to 3 asymmetry of the dual hemisphere Taurus, we know those dates are the dates for the 2 Vesica Piscis. Structurally, you can't have an inhale without an exhale, and you can't have a north without a south. And if we are, recognizing the polarity and as above, so below, and male and female gendered correspondence of this beautiful system of the breath of God that we live in, we can also assert that because April 13th is holding that larger 219-day inhalation, structurally it needs to be able to hold that larger inhale one more day, one more gate, one more day inside of the Vesica Piscis. So that is where we have the 6 days, the 6 holy days, which brings us to the 0.24 of that 365.24 days, which is the door exit and ascension return to God from the April 13th Vesica Piscis, which the Egyptians knew about. And I'm going to show you how they knew. Inside of the beautiful ancient Egyptian physics of our toroidal breath, the civil religion and the rulers of the Egyptian culture and kingdom laid down a 360-degree circle with 5 holy days of depth. And they did so in perfect symmetry, 2.5 days and 2.5 days, giving them balance. The balance is truly represented inside of that Vesica Piscis overlap.